Hey, welcome back to Business 101, Introduction to Business, and now we start a new module, module number 12, and we are looking at the topic of accounting in this, a very, very important function in business. And as I mentioned before, this module and module 13, which will be on finance, so these two modules on accounting and finance, really is your introduction to one of the most important concepts in business, which is, in order for you to make wise decisions and really bring value to any kind of a business situation for the sake of your career, you have to know how to follow the money. You have to know how money works in a business. And so we give you this in two modules, this module on accounting and the next module on finance, to introduce you to the topics that really have to do with being able to track and analyze and classify and have insight into how money works in business. And therefore, this very first lecture, as you can see here, let's start out with the question, what is accounting? Exactly what is accounting, and how is it different than finance? What do accountants do? What are some of the primary functions and the ways that accounting adds to the whole concept of following the money and being able to track how money works in a business? Let's start out first of all with some basic definitions. The textbook will tell us that accounting is a comprehensive system for collecting, analyzing, and communicating financial information. Now, you may remember from our previous module on information technology, there is a significant difference between data and information. Do you remember that? Well, the key thought there was that data exists in all sorts of forms and raw facts, but being able to really translate it to information means adding in interpretation, insight, and analysis to make it valuable to actual users and decision makers. And that's exactly what we're talking about with accounting. Accounting takes monetary data and transforms it through collection, analysis, into financial information that can then be communicated to various parties that need the information to make wise decisions. We distinguish accounting from the task of bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is generally defined as simply the recording of all these accounting transactions that have happened during a particular period of time. And so bookkeeping keeps the books, keeps the records. Accounting goes much, much further than that, and then collects, analyzes, and communicates that information in ways that users can interpret easily. So one of the key thoughts here about accounting is that accounting focuses on things that have already happened. In other words, the focus of accounting is on historical financial information. What are the changes in the values of our assets over the last 12 months? How much sales revenue did we bring in this last month? What are the labor hours worked that we have to pay wages for the next week? All of those events, of course, have already taken place. And so, therefore, they can be measured in dollar terms, they can be collected together, the data can be assembled in ways that render it valuable information. But the key thought here is right at the outset, accounting focuses on historical financial information, stuff that's already happened. And the key principle of accounting, the really large blanket principle, is that accounting is not simply adding up a bunch of numbers and coming up with reports. It's not. At its heart, the key principle of accounting is that numbers are stories in disguise. They are stories about things that people have done, whether that's deciding to buy your product or buy your service, or called in warranty repair information, or your vendor has sold you some stock that you now have in inventory. All of those are stories represented by numbers. The numbers are stories in disguise. And quite frankly, many times, stories have faces behind them, right? We're really talking about decisions, behaviors, things that people have done. People within your organization, people related but outside your organization, customers, vendors, etc., right? So you have to remember that, and I'll keep coming back to that throughout this series of lectures on accounting. Accounting looks at historical financial information. It congregates all these and measures these events in numbers, and numbers are really stories in disguise. Our role then is to tell the story of what the numbers are suggesting. So what is accounting? Well, accounting relies upon an information system. And sometimes what we mean by information system is, of course, a software program, which is an information system, but it doesn't have to be a software program. Remember, accounting has existed and been useful to business for generations and generations before computers were ever invented. So therefore, an accounting information system is simply a system and procedure for identifying, measuring, recording, and retaining financial information for use in accounting statements and management reports. Now, this is 2020, right? And that means that now, of course, we have some pretty popular, well-established software products that handle a lot of the accounting for us. A lot of the heavy lifting, a lot of the basic addition, subtraction, and all those kinds of things, as well as some more higher function reporting and record keeping. And you see a couple of products there I've selected there. Of course, one of the most popular accounting programs, especially for small business, you see at the top there, QuickBooks, Intuit QuickBooks. And QuickBooks is published by the Intuit Corporation. QuickBooks is so popular that many colleges, like College of Marin, many universities, many places offer full-blown courses simply to help accounting professionals get trained how to use QuickBooks. It's that popular. Another popular product is Sage Accounting. They have several different accounting products depending on the size of your business, but one of the more popular accounting packages for medium-sized businesses published by Sage, the Sage accounting product. And then the third one you see there, Oracle NetSuite. Of course, many of us have heard of the Oracle Corporation. They're one of the largest publishers of enterprise software, and NetSuite is an accounting package that Oracle produces primarily for medium and large size businesses. And so if you're working for instance, a Fortune 500 company, you may be doing accounting on Oracle NetSuite. Those are just examples. There are hundreds of more accounting products out there that I could have listed. I'm not endorsing these. I don't work for any of these companies. I don't get any financial remuneration for mentioning these companies. These are just examples of popular accounting software packages that are out there for you to be familiar with. Who uses accounting information? Oh my goodness. Anyone who has a stake in the business. And so, for instance, business managers use accounting information. They use it to develop goals and plans, to set budgets, to evaluate future prospects. Employees and employees' unions use it to plan and receive compensation benefits. Investors and creditors use accounting information to estimate return to stockholders, determine growth prospects, determine whether a firm is a good credit risk. And in fact, investors use accounting information all the time to keep a measure of, well, is the investment I made in this company paying off an acceptable rate of return? All of those things are revealed to us by accounting information. Who else uses accounting information? Well, the folks who prepare our tax returns, whether our individual tax returns or corporate tax returns. So you see there the first bullet point. Tax authorities use accounting information to plan for tax revenue or inflows, determine tax liabilities for individuals and businesses, and ensure that correct amounts are paid on time. Who are we talking about? Well, here in the state of California, we're talking, of course, about the Franchise Tax Board for state taxes and the Internal Revenue Service for federal taxes. You see the second bullet point there, government regulatory agencies also rely on it to fulfill their duties toward the public. That might be the kinds of authorities that provide revenue to community colleges that rely upon property taxes as a measure or baseline for revenue and all those kinds of things, right? So there are all sorts of different parties and stakeholders who use accounting information. These two slides are not at all comprehensive. These are just examples, right, of a long list of different categories of folks who all use accounting information. The thing that I want you, of course, to take away from this is that once you have been trained and competent to gather the accounting information and collate it into interpretable reports, well, what's the story? What's the story these numbers are telling? Well, what kinds of stories are we looking for? Well, how far have we come from? What have we done so far? And being that we now know what we've done so far, where do we want to go in the future? Remember, I've told you this before, you cannot improve what you cannot control, and you cannot control what you cannot first measure. This is what accounting is all about. You cannot improve what you cannot control. You cannot control what you cannot measure. Accounting is about measurement. Well, it's also about measurement and analysis and interpretation and providing insight and suggesting direction. And that's why I've given you this graphic of a compass there on the screen on the right-hand side. This then is our introduction to the topic of accounting. As I told you the first week of this class together, I'm an accounting major. That was one of the emphasis in my bachelor's degree, was in accounting, and the other was in finance. And so accounting is, while I never had a desire to pursue getting certified as a certified public accountant, accounting is near and dear to my heart because I truly believe that, at least here in the United States, in a free market system, money is how we keep score of how well a business is performing. In order to be really in the know and have influence with how a business does, you have to know how to keep score, which means you have to know how money works, which means you need to understand accounting. You don't have to be an accounting major, but you do need a grasp, a good firm grasp, a comprehension of how accounting contributes to the management of business today and in the future. Because numbers are stories, and you need to know what the stories are. I hope this helps. We'll see you in the next lecture.